She is 26 years old. She is originally from Indianapolis. She has lived in LA for 9 months. She moved here to become a publicist. Her family did not approve. 3 weeks ago, she was walking through a parking garage. It was late at night. She had been on a first date. She had had 2 glasses of wine with dinner. Her date wanted to walk her to her car, but she liked him, really liked him. He was a year older, an entertainment attorney, someone who wanted, like her, a career and later a family, and she knew if he walked her to her car, he would try to kiss her. She wanted to take it slowly, try to engage in as old-fashioned a dating process as possible. She said she'd be fine. He said he would call her. She smiled and said she looked forward to it, and she walked away. She had been in the garage many times. Her office was down the street. It was in Santa Monica, which is a safe, wealthy, stable community. The garage was fairly empty. She took an elevator to the 4th floor. She got out and started walking towards her car, which was on the opposite side of the garage. She immediately felt uneasy. She started walking more quickly. Something was wrong, wrong, wrong. She was suddenly terrified, absolutely f***ing terrified. Something was wrong. She was 20 feet from her car, 15, 10. She reached for her keys. As she reached for them, she was absolutely f***ing terrified. He stepped out from between 2 cars, came at her from behind. She was 5 feet away from her car with her keys in her hand.
How did LA so get into your skin that it is the centerpiece of this book, I think you could say?
Yeah, I mean, the book is about the city. The city is the primary character of the book in many ways. I moved there when I was 25. I lived there till I was 33. It's a place I love. It's a place where a lot of major events in my life took place. You know, I wrote my first book there. I met my wife there. I got married there. And you think across, I thought a lot about, before I moved there, I thought I had this idea of what LA was, you know, this sort of vacuous, idiotic place. And when I got there, I realized it wasn't that at all. It was this huge, vast, cool, very diverse city. Then I started thinking about the kinds of books I wanted to write. And I've always wanted to write sort of big, ambitious, literary books and do things that people hadn't done before and do them in ways people had never done them before. And so books have been written about a lot of the great cities in the world. You know, there are books, you know, Hugo wrote about Paris, and right. Dickens wrote about London, and Mailer wrote about New York. Saul Bellow wrote about Chicago. Mm-hmm. Nobody had ever taken LA on. Nobody had ever treated it seriously. Mm-hmm. You know, there are books that are set there, but they're all about Hollywood or crime. You know, nobody ever takes it as this large, incredibly cool place. So I wanted to try to do it. And I wanted to try to write sort of a love letter to it. You know, it's not a love letter that's, you know, all daisies and butterflies, right. But it's still a love letter. I mean, I knew I couldn't tell the story of the city with a single narrative or a single protagonist, so I wrote a list before I started up the book of stories I thought I could tell. And there was probably 20 on there. And then I sort of boiled it down to ones that I thought could carry through for the course of an entire book and were different from each other and were sort of archetypal of Los Angeles. You know, there's a Hollywood story, there's an internal immigration story, mm-hmm. There's a foreign immigration story, there's a story of poverty. And those are all sort of big things that exist in LA. You know, you can't write about it and not write about Hollywood. It's the fastest growing city in America with the largest amount of internal and foreign immigration in it. And there is this massive disparity of wealth there that's more extreme than it is in any other city in America. So I sort of pulled archetypes and then I just made it up, you know, as I went along. I had general ideas of what the stories would be, but a lot of it was figured out, you know, every day at the machine.
You write, you labor over the writing, you hear the cadence, and then you don't do it over, except for what, editing. That's a particular style of writing. I can't imagine that many people write that way. In fact, so many people I've interviewed have said that they write and rewrite. And has that always been, have you always just sort of heard something in your head and that's the way you write?
Yeah, when I write, I listen to music and I talk everything out, and I'm very meticulous and deliberate about every word, every sentence, every paragraph. I speak it out because I think there's a thing with spoken communication that's sort of more true to mm-hmm. how we communicate than written communication is. When you write something, you have to follow this set of rules, and somewhere in that, something gets lost. So it's much more important to me how something sounds and the rhythm of it than following any particular set of rules I was taught when I was 12.